Welcome to Not Your Basic Brunettes, where we, Devin and Kadie, dive into all things girly and beyond. From sharing TMI moments to navigating life's chaos with humor and vulnerability, we're here to create a safe space for moms, single ladies, entrepreneurs, and corporate girlies alike. Grab a drink, get comfy, and join us as we laugh, cry, and connect through all of life's moments. Now here are your hosts, Devin and Kadie.
Welcome back to your basic brunette. This episode, we are actually going to discuss ADD and ADHD in women. So let's get to it. Yeah. So Devin, what made you realize that you possibly had ADD? I know you recently were diagnosed, and tell me a little bit about that. Like, what's your kind of like your cue was like ding light bulb?
There was no light bulb. I feel like it was like a slow lava lamp where just like bubbles would come up and like then they would go back down. Because it was first told to me, like I asked for a diagnosis or like asked for a test last December, talking to a psychiatrist. Because I kept like back in my mid-20s when I would go in for like anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Like, you do that stupid little test where it's like, yeah, everybody's depressed because
Right.
we're not all happy every day. But he was like, have you ever thought about ADD? I'm like, no. Like, that's something I always thought you were diagnosed as a kid.
Right.
I didn't have problems in school. Like, I wasn't like classic, oh, she can't pay attention, she can't function, she's bad at grades and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, just kind of dismissed it. And then there's over the years, other doctors have kind of hinted at it like, hey, I think you have ADD or ADHD. The big part was when I got a brain scan at the Amen Clinic from Dr. Amen. He's like a world-renowned brain guy, but they have a clinic back in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so they do this scan where they have you do all this activity and then you go and take an MRI of your brain and it shows like what's lit up and what's not. And then one where you sit and do nothing and what's lit up and what's not.
Cool.
And so like in the front of your brain is kind of where all your serotonin and all that sort of stuff is. So I was producing enough serotonin. So like all the medication that I was on wasn't working.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, why am I so scatterbrained?
Right.
Why am I so tired? Why can I not focus on things or that sort of stuff? And there was a divot in my brain where I thought it's like ADD or whatever, ADHD. So then they kind of like prescribe like more functional medicine type of stuff. I didn't end up taking them because I got pregnant and couldn't take it. And then after having my kids, it was like, oh, it's mom brain. Mom brain where I can't.
That's what a lot of people blame it on.
So that's why it's like, you talk to people like, why can I not remember? Why can I not focus? And it's like, oh, you're a mom, you have so many things going on. So like, brush that aside. And the biggest like kind of nail in the coffin was when I was at a very stressful corporate job where I'm working remote, and it's very much, I think I mentioned it last time, where like I had to be on all the time and like watch like a hawk and that sort of stuff. And it would just be so frustrating how like, why am I forgetting these things? Why can I not function at my best? And that kind of spurred on my mind of doing a lot of research myself, watching the YouTube channels, looking at podcasts, and kind of like self-diagnosing it. And then it just took until I switched therapists really to, she's more ADHD focused. She was like, I think you have a lot of symptoms because people kept telling me, no, you don't, you're a mom, you're a mom, you're a mom.
Exactly.
And it's like very invalidating because you're like, okay, well, is that ever going to go back to normal?
Right.
And then you get this diagnosis and, you know, a lot of it starts to make sense. You start to look back on your childhood and it's like, oh, I waited till the last minute to do everything. Like homework before class, scribble it down real quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about this earlier, like studying last minute. Okay, I know what I know, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's like have a terrible memory, but can remember very specific things about somebody. So it was explaining this to people kind of just like brought up a lot of memories and validations for myself on that. What you're just not a forgetful, inattentive pig. That was diagnosed with inattentive. I was like, yeah. The other day I was like struggling so hard to focus on my work. I think I told you I was like, I just can't do it. And I think that always made me feel like a failure because why can't you just sit down and do it? I got that a lot. Why can't you just sit down and focus? Sit down and focus. Like, I don't
can't.
know. My
Yeah.
brain does not work that way.
Yeah.
So getting that diagnosis was very validating in the fact that, like, okay, you don't have these problems. You just function
Yeah.
differently.
Mm-hmm.
And, just starting out and my diagnosis, like, okay, learning coping mechanisms and that sort of stuff to help you.
Absolutely.
So still learning those, but I think I have a little bit more compassion, a lot more
Mhm.
compassion for myself when it comes to those moments where it's like I can't focus.
Mhm.
Okay, today is just not one of those days. We're gonna try
Yes.
again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or why don't you get something done, like cleaning or organization,
Right.
clear your mind and get it focused, and
Oh,
then sit
absolutely.
down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of been like my short and fast journey of a late diagnosis, especially being a woman.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What are you doing now as far as like treatment wise? Like, are you taking any medications? Are you doing like natural path kind of stuff, or just finding your own routine, your own
Mhm.
way of dealing with it?
Yeah, especially since it's so new. I didn't want to be on medication. Um, I don't have the best reactions to medication. I know you have a very similar situation too, where like I said, I tried the SSRIs a lot, didn't work. I have a lot of bad reactions coming off of these drugs, a lot of
Right.
side effects. So I was really, really hesitant to be like, hey, pop me a stimulant.
Yeah.
That felt really overwhelming to me because it felt like my brain's already buzzing. I don't want something else to make it more buzzy,
Right.
which
Right.
it probably could do the opposite. But I also took this genealogy test
Mhm.
where they match your genes to certain medications and it's kind of like green, yellow, red of
Yeah.
like
My
how you'll
sister did one of
react.
those. They're really great.
Yeah, so that was really good to look through it with a psychiatrist too and be like, hey, a lot of these stimulants are in my no-no zone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I was
Yeah.
like,
It's true.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. Like I agree. So I definitely take the more functional route. I talked to my functional doctor about it too, just taking a lot of stuff like glycine, a lot of like neuro calming stuff like GABA I take, which naturally is produced by your body, which helps
Mhm.
you calm your nervous system. Like in your center of the brain, your GABA is like your alarm system.
Yeah.
So taking a lot of what's called like GABA calming, which just helps you produce more GABA, which is
Absolutely.
naturally in your body, and it has a little bit of ashwagandha and like L-theanine in it, which is also good for brain health. Something that's called like acetylcholine. So
Mhm.
all this stuff is produced in your body, and a big part too, part of that genealogy test that I think a lot of women have that don't realize it is called the motherfucker gene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have ADHD or so you're probably like you're gonna have it. So
Yes.
it's like you don't methylate in the right way. So like you have to take
Correct.
methylated versions of like a vitamin B, which is really good
Mhm.
for you and your brain health. So figuring that sort of stuff out, and I take magnesium. I take so many supplements,
Mhm.
and I wish I could be like, oh my god, it makes me. I took magnesium. I see all these Instagram ads.
I
Just take
know.
magnesium, and
I
I felt like a whole new
know.
person. I'm like, I take like 5 a night. I don't really take 5 a night. I take 2 a night, but like,
And I don't feel a difference.
yeah,
That's the dumb part because I feel like because I did the same thing. I took
yeah,
magnesium every night, and I'm like,
I know. People
nope,
like it just makes you go to sleep. I'm like, no,
no,
no, it doesn't.
doesn't do anything.
It's not hurting me. I think it definitely is helping. I've been taking it
Absolutely.
for years, so it's something that like my body is used to now. But Instagram will get you with these like, oh, just take these
Oh yeah,
drops and you're magically
all the
healed.
time. Yeah, the sales of like different natural supplements that
Yeah.
work, and that it's like,
Try all these different coffees. I'm just like, no, I don't know. Um, yeah, and I think I want to dive more into like coping mechanisms. I was working a little bit that with my therapist on that, and then got into other stuff. But it's a lot of like, she kept reminding me of like, what can you focus on one at a time? A lot of like breaking down the steps and understanding this cycle. We can get into later talking about like burnout and mentioning other, like highs and lows.
oh, absolutely.
And kind of just managing that a little bit of no, I think it's more like right now like recognition.
Mhm.
Like this is what I'm feeling. I feel really energized right now.
Mhm.
Let's get some stuff done. Or like
Right.
I feel like crap today. I can't.
Absolutely.
So I think right now I'm just kind of in the recognizing stage, and then kind of some other things calm down, maybe I can start getting more into better coping mechanisms to help me do it. But that's where I'm at. So what about your diagnosis? Tell me your story.
So I was working in the medical field in my 20s, and I just could not focus for the life of me. I worked in a neurology clinic, actually, at the time that I was getting my diagnosis, and seeing a lot of people with ADHD, and then recollecting like through my high school years of like having such a hard time memorizing things or doing math, as we explained with my wonderful math teacher. Um, it just was really frustrating, and then I was like, well, I have to be able to focus my job. This is literally what I went to school for. I need my job. I need to pay my bills. So once I was like, okay, I need to do something. I need to figure out what's going on. I ended up going to a psychiatrist down in Texas, where I lived at the time, and we did all the ADHD testing and everything that you could, just a big pop quiz. I didn't get to do the cool stuff that you've done, like the
I
brain
was
scan
about
and
to
stuff.
ask. Oh,
Yeah.
and I was gonna say for your ADHD test, what was your test?
It was just a bunch of questions, like a bunch
Oh.
of questions, which was like already like killing me in advance because like people with ADHD like these take tests in the
Hate
first place.
questions.
Yeah, so it was like a very comprehensive thing of questions, and of course it's like it included like anxiety and depression screening, and ADHD, like it just had the whole bang, and I'm like, oh god, they're just gonna tell me I have anxiety or something, and then she was like, no, you have ADD. I don't think you're hyperactive like some people, but she's like, you do have ADD with all of your things that you answered on your
Right.
on your quick. Because like when you're at the end of it, they like print out the like scale, and it was like, here's the scale, and this is where you are. This is the max. This is you're pretty close. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I was really validating too for me because I forever thought just my brother had ADHD because he's very hyperactive. So I didn't think that I would have ADD in that sense, but I was like, something has got to give because I can't think, I can't learn. There's certain ways that I learn. There's certain things that I do. Like I sent you that video the other day. It was like, if you hold your pen like this is how you're supposed to write.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
I
was
didn't
like,
either.
I do that too.
And I was in shock because I have always like angled my paper and like wrote really hard to the point where I got this like callus on my dent on my finger. And people used to make fun of me, like older patient, my first grade teacher. Oh, honey, no one ever told you how to hold your pen. I was like, that's ADD. How rude. And like nobody knew until like recently. Like there's just like different like symptoms that we're finding out about, and I'm like, well, I'll be damned. Because
Instagram.
I have tried so hard to like hold my pen like the way they show. No, I can't. It works. Like my hand like cramps, and like I can't do it.
It's so weird that everything is like super specific, and everybody who ADD.
It really is, and it's surprisingly because like you don't realize it. And now all I'm gonna do is like whenever we go places, I'm gonna see people be like, "How are you writing?" Yeah, like how are you writing? Are you ready? Do you have ADD? You have ADD. I can see it.
Diagnosing you right officially.
Literally. I was surprised though. I was surprised because like my mom can like write beautifully. Like has great handwriting. Too, and then I'm like, oh, it's so bad. Thank God I worked in the medical field because I worked with doctors, so I could read their chicken scratch just as bad as mine. And whenever I take notes or like sticky notes, like everyone was like, "What did you write?" I was like, "It's my note. I know what it says. I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll put it in later."
Yeah, not same thing. So, okay, you got diagnosed around your early 20s. So, did you decide to go on medication? What was it like?
So yeah, the psychiatrist at that time actually diagnosed and gave me Adderall. Okay, so I was on Adderall for that medication for quite a while, and the frustrating part with me, same thing. I'm super sensitive to medications. I don't do well on a lot of things. Like Adderall made me feel great, and I was able to like it's literally like the movie Limitless. Have you seen Limitless?
Yeah.
Okay, it's literally like that. Like your brain literally like goes, boom, like turns on. And you're like, holy crap, I'm using all synapses at once. This is great. And then the bad part is you start taking it daily. Well, the problem is it's an addictive medication.
Or meth.
Correct. But here's the thing. The psychiatrist I was seeing at that time was like, it's not an addictive medication, so you can take this whenever and, when you need it, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Well, I was taking it daily because I needed it for work,
Mhm.
and then I was also trying to, like, do part-time school, things like that. So, of course, I'm taking it daily. Well, then when I would run out of my medication because she would only give me a 30-day supply and I had to check in and keep getting a script, like, every
Yeah.
single month, I was running out. Well, those few days that I ran out and I would like not have my medication, I'd go through withdrawal. Like I
Ugh.
felt awful and I was having like neuromuscular pain
Yeah.
and the whole thing, like just I felt awful and I got really, really ill and really, really sick
Mm.
that time. So I stopped taking Adderall and I was like, okay, well, there has to be some other options, some other thing. And it took me a while to try different ones because after a while, like I would get off medications and be like, "Oh no, I'm doing fine. Like I don't
Mhm.
really need it right now. I usually just use it whenever I'm in school or something like that, or really have something I need to focus on and take them." But recently, before I was pregnant with Rami, I tried Vyvanse, and that seemed to do the job because my sister did that genetic testing
Mhm.
um, test, and I gave it to my doctor and was like, "Hey, this is my sister, and I have the same mother and father, so our same genetic makeup. So these medications work for her. Do you think we could try some of these to work for me?"
Mhm.
And they were like, "Yeah, we can try some of these and see how they go." And Vyvanse did okay, but I still had that weird um, neuromuscular pain because it is a meth
Mhm.
based drug. So it's like I need the medication, but I don't like the side effects of how it makes me feel after.
Yeah. When you say like neuro, whatever, like muscular, like
Yeah.
I know like the neuro, like coming off of, um, like Zoloft or whatever. That was sensitive too. Like I would get what they call brain zaps, where
Yeah.
it's like you get this weird like
Uh huh.
electric shock to your brain.
Yeah.
And coming off other medication, it's almost like a whoosh through your body.
Mhm.
Is that what you're talking about, or is it
No, so
more?
it would be like it almost is like fibromyalgia, where
Ooh.
you're just it was like how like we hold tension like so
Mhm.
much here. Well, it was like constantly just being cramping, sending nerve pain all throughout like your neck, back, and
Ish.
spine, and it just felt awful. Like I felt like I
Yeah.
could not function, and I ended up having to go almost like detox, like
Yeah.
to get through it. I saw a chiropractic doctor and sports medicine doctor and the whole bang just to like detox, help me get through it. Thank you, Dr. Lore, who still works in Dallas. He's amazing and he's not really bad to look at either. Um, and he really did. He helped me a lot, and he was a really nice guy. And like same thing, he helped me like go through detox and was like, I want you to stay on like just this particular diet for so many days and
Mhm.
whatnot, just to like cleanse your body out. He actually had the same kind of situation, like feeling awful in his 20s, and it was like on an IV drip and the whole
Oh.
bang, and like just
Yeah.
something medically not going right with him. And he
Mhm.
was like, I just turned my whole life around by like doing more of like functional medicine,
Mhm.
more naturopathic stuff, eating lots of vegetables, things like that,
Yeah.
just to like cleanse his body, and he's doing great. So
Yeah.
I'm like trying to do the same thing now. I don't currently take anything for my ADD, even though sometimes I probably should.
Yeah.
But I can't find anything that works for me as far as a pharmaceutical based drug.
Right.
I don't do well with SSRIs.
Mhm.
Like it's embarrassing when I go to any medical office because the nurses see my allergy list. It's like 23 different SSRIs, and they're like, and I'm like,
I know.
it's SSRIs. I'm like, you don't have to go through them all. It's
Yeah.
okay.
And when I had my first, had my son, um, going afterwards, like postpartum depression and all that sort of stuff, they put me on Wellbutrin,
Yeah.
which is helpful for ADHD too because it's a dopamine-based drug, and it worked great. Like I loved it, but like after a month, I metabolized it so slow that I
Yeah.
started breaking out in hives, and I literally can't take it
Yep.
anymore. So it's on my allergy list too, and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is literally the only drug in its class.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Compared to like as many SSRIs or SNRIs,
Oh yeah.
it's like there's so many, and I think you and I have similar stories of like we're trying to seek help in the most natural way, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's only pushed with pharmaceutical stuff. And it's scary
Absolutely.
because it's like you have so many allergies, we have such sensitive systems,
Yes.
and then it's like you don't want to keep trying all these stuffs and then have to withdraw off of these things. That's the
Exactly.
worst
And then they're
part.
like, yeah, you can't just immediately stop these medications. You have to taper down. You're like, how long do I have to taper down? All these 4 weeks.
Oh, well, you're lucky they said 4
I'm
weeks.
just saying, like
Yeah.
certain ones. I know some of them are longer, but like you're just like,
Yeah, I've had doctors that have pulled me off too quickly, and
yeah,
that's when I was looking at crazy stuff. And
absolutely.
yeah. So besides medication, do you do anything like on a daily, like coping mechanisms, or since you've, I don't want to say dealt with it. I feel like that's the wrong word.
It is,
You've
yeah, it's
known about
yeah. I've known
it
about it, and
longer.
I'm conscientious of the fact that I have ADD, and I just know some days are just going to be like worse than others. It just is what it is, and I know that I have to figure things out. Like some days I'm great. I try to stick to a routine as much as possible. I really do like getting up at a certain time,
Mhm.
taking the kids to school, then going to the gym, trying to eat well.
Yeah.
Like you know that I'm on a weight loss journey with
Mhm.
this right now, so it's like I'm trying to stick to that routine. It doesn't always happen because things happen in
Yeah.
life and different appointments and whatnot. And sometimes, and even they say like people with ADHD need a routine in order to like function better and to process things on a better
Mhm.
basis. But I do know that it's still hard. Like even us like working on this project, like I was making a few mistakes and things like that, and it's just because like I was going so fast, like trying to
Yeah.
get it done, and then it was like, oh, I forgot to like edit and figure out what I was doing at that time, or go back and reread it, or and the thing is too with my ADD, I have a hard time reading things and just remembering them. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
So
are you allergic to written
yes,
instructions?
I
'Cause
am.
yes.
I am, and that's the thing. It's kind of like my learning flaw. Like I can read it,
Mhm.
but I don't always understand it, or I have to read it multiple times in order for
Yeah.
my brain to click. Especially if it's something I'm not like interested in reading at that time, like at that quick second. Like I know it's something I need to learn, or like if it's something I'm obsessed with,
Yeah.
not a problem. Like
Mhm.
I'm like got it all, know it front to back, know every story, could read you every single line. But if it's something I'm like doing quickly, I just forget immediately. So I learned that I'm a visual and an audio person. Like
Oh, okay.
I learn better that way. I
Mhm.
actually don't like physical books in my hand.
Mhm.
And I think it stems too from when I was a kid. I actually needed a reading teacher
Okay.
to help me. I was embarrassed in like
Oh.
first grade, and I stuttered when I would read out loud. Because of course you're reading out loud. I'm like
Yeah.
6, and I'm like,
Popcorn.
Mom, hey you're gonna read this sentence. Oh my god!
Shit.
So of course I'm like shitting my pants at like 6, and I'm like embarrassed because I'm
Yeah.
like kind of stuttering and realizing that my reading level wasn't up to par because I skipped a grade when I was in like elementary school because I could read and write. So they were like, oh, we're gonna skip a grade. Well, my reading was still like, but
Yeah.
like just getting nervous as a kid, still
Yeah.
learning. So I had to learn a reading teacher, and I feel like that. And even I remember like working with her like so far back in second grade. We would like read over and over and over just because I had a hard time, and
Yeah.
I
God bless
realized
her.
that like getting
Yeah.
older, and I'm just like, okay, so audible books work great for me.
Yeah.
Like I hate when people buy me physical books. Like
I will never read it.
yeah, I
No.
won't. And it's like it's not on purpose, but I
Mhm.
feel like because my ADD brain, I can listen to an audiobook while cleaning
Mhm.
or doing something else and multitask for my brain to keep stimulated and keep going
Yeah.
and stay on, but I'm absorbing the information.
Yeah. No, I saw something related to that of like, um, you have an ADD person, we're sitting talking face to face, like, you think I'm paying attention, but
Yes.
I don't remember a thing you say, but like, give me something in my hand, make me focus on something else. It looks like I'm not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
I will remember every detail.
Yeah.
And I feel like as kids too, that was like forced out of you because it's like, I feel like I do that too. Like, look at me, it's
Yes.
like that sort of thing. Because like the person speaking needs validation,
Right.
but it's like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Sense.
Like, I do that all the time. I'm like, crap, I haven't been watching their eyebrows, like I haven't been like I'm pretending
know.
and nodding, and
Yeah.
that's so hard. Like when you said you like verbal instructions, I immediately go, oh,
Oh, yeah. But it just, I don't know, again, everybody learns
Yeah.
differently. It just helped me. Like, I realized that as I got older, because I was like, I'm reading these instructions and my eyes
Give me the
twitching.
IKEA instructions with the pictures.
Like I said, cliff notes. Like,
Yeah.
give me fast cliff notes. So
Yeah.
I need help. I get to sit there and read like that. Like, oh my gosh, thank God my husband was helping me through school. Dear God.
Yeah.
I was dying. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna finish college. Like, this is awful. And having to read, it's all I was doing online school, which is all
Like,
reading,
and Google.
and I was dying. I was dying. Like, I was like, I would literally copy paste text like for it to be spoken to me on my computer,
That's smart.
and then he would like have to help me like reread things or
Mhm.
write my papers, and then I would of course wait for the last minute to
Yeah.
finish my papers on Sunday night when they're due at midnight,
Yeah.
and writing like a 6-page paper. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god. awful.
Well, they say like a lot of people with ADHD, like if you don't put yourself on a stressful deadline,
Yeah.
you won't do it.
You won't
And
get
like
done.
I beat myself up so much about it. Like even in my personal work nowadays, especially doing more freelance stuff, like oh I got time,
Shoot.
like
I don't have time. I got an hour. Like,
and they're
it's
like, can we see your progress? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like
sure.
I know. I think that was like a huge masking part too of just like we're not dumb. You
Yeah,
know,
we're
like
not.
we're way smarter because we're thinking. I don't want to say way smarter, but like we're smart and we think in a different way.
Right.
It's just like neurotypicals are like, I don't understand. You seem so scatterbrained. You seem unreliable. That sort of stuff. So it's like
Right.
you feel like crap. Just like no, I can do all these things.
Right.
I might wait till the last minute. I think that was a huge masking part for me. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, I could do it quickly.
Yes.
And so I learned like my procrastination. Then I learned how to work quickly. I learned how to do that so I could
Yeah.
look like I did all of this work in a long amount of time.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, I just work extremely
Extremely well.
fast.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's like now it's trying to pace myself,
Yes.
which is really hard, or like
Yes.
pretend deadlines
Yeah.
in the calendar.
Yes.
So,
It definitely helps. I mean, I'm the same way. Like, there's
Yeah.
certain things that I like try to write down on a to-do list, and like knowing that like, okay, which is priority, what needs to
Mhm.
be done right now, what can I do later. Because if I just sit there and be like, oh, I gotta do this and I
Yeah.
gotta do that, but I don't give myself any kind of like to do or deadline, then I'm like, I get
Nope.
done. And then
Yeah.
Omar will be like, did you do? Nope.
Nope.
Did you
But I
call
did
that
other
doctor?
things.
Nope.
Nope.
Did you make that appointment? Nope.
I did not. Yeah. No, I think we talked about this a little bit last time of just like how, especially for me, like you said you thrive in routine.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm the opposite almost. Like if I get too routine, then it becomes expected, and my brain is like, no, we don't want to do that.
Mhm.
Like stubbornness comes out, and like, no,
Yeah.
that doesn't give me joy anymore.
Yeah,
So like
and I totally
moving
get
from
that.
place to place while I'm working,
Yeah.
like I don't like so glad I don't work in an office anymore
Yeah.
because I would just be frozen in the seat and be like itching to get out. I'm
Yeah.
like, and now I'm like at a coffee shop, on my couch, my bed, at my office, like
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, and it's helped me kind of like change my environment. Okay, we're on to the next thing,
Yeah,
like cross that
absolutely.
off type thing.
But I do agree with that. Like, there are some days where I'm like, I don't want to do my routine. I want
Yeah.
to do stuff. Especially like I thrive in like doing things on a whim.
Yeah.
Especially like me and Omar on vacation. He hates it. 'Cause he wants to like have a schedule. What are we doing in this
Yeah.
day? What are we? And I'm like, first off, it's vacation.
Hmm.
Second off, we're gonna have a few days where we just do fucking nothing and
Yeah.
just figure it out or just whim. Like, okay, I'll tell you the story when we went to Cozumel. So we went to Cozumel, our first like trip together,
Mhm.
having a great time. We had just been dating a few months, and we get to the island, and of course he wants to just like hit the ground running. He's like, we're gonna go parasailing and we're gonna go jet skiing because I've never done any of those
Yeah.
things. But then I was like, whoa, buddy.
That's
We're
a
on-
lot of activity
It's
in
a
one day.
lot of activity. Yeah. And I'm like, it's a vacation. Like, we need to relax a little bit
Yeah.
too. Cause like I've never been one outside of the country. This is my first
Mhm.
time going out of the country. Two, I've never gotten to be in an all-inclusive
Yeah, me
resort. Like, I
neither.
was like, I want to do this. This is fun.
Yeah.
I found it like, I'll send you the link. It was like Caribbean cheapcaribbean.com. We would love if you sponsor us. Love that.
Send me on a trip.
Send me on a trip and I will make videos and do the whole bang. Okay. But yeah, so like we found this like all inclusive trip to Cozumel at a Bureau Stars, a 4-star hotel, all inclusive for like $500 a person for the whole thing.
You used to do work for a beer star, so I
Oh,
know
did you?
the luxury. Yeah.
So it was super fun. And like we were like there for like 5 days, 4 nights, whole bang. And I was like, okay, great. And then one of the days is our free day, right? And he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, let's go into town. Let's go on an adventure. So we took a taxi to like a certain point, and then I was like, we're not in town yet. So because we stopped at like this like Hard Rock Cafe or something just to like grab a lunch, and then we were like gonna go into town, and I was like, we're not there yet, so we're just gonna keep walking. It's really, really hot. It's like 98 degrees outside. The sun is beaming. It's like noon.
Yeah.
And he's like, where are we going? I'm like, just follow me. It's fine. We were like walking. I think we walked probably about 3 miles before we actually got into town.
Oh,
and when we finally got there, we like run into Starbucks they had there to like just get water.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's an adventure. We're just like living the culture, looking at the island. Like, and Omar's like, where are we? Like, what is the destination here? Like, he's losing his mind. And then it is funny because at the end of this adventure, we end up going into one of their like cool trinket, like gift shop, liquor store things, or whatever. Well, then he finds the Clase de Azul tequila bottle, which is a very expensive tequila. It's $100 a bottle. And he was so excited to like find it because I guess he like had it one of some really rich guy's house. Like, oh, I want to buy this bottle. And I was like, see, adventures.
There you go.
You found this bottle and now you get to wrap it up and take it home. Like the guy was like, he's like, you want to what? He's like, yes,
please,
now.
please.
And he's like, oh, they're nice, and he like wrapped it up really, really well to make sure it doesn't break because it's a beautiful bottle. They make these handcrafted bottles and like the whole base. Like it's almost like a piece of art in itself when they give it to you, and you're just like, oh, great. And I'm like, see, adventure.
Also, what sign is it?
Oh,
that explains a lot.
Yeah. Fires and water, buddy.
I was gonna say, I'm a water sign, so it's like you're very spontaneous, and I would like to say that I'm spontaneous as long as I know where we're going, what time we're doing it, and what we're wearing, and what the plan is, and then I have the spontaneity of doing it or not.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I get it. There are some days where I'm like, is it past 6 or 9 o'clock? Do I have to put clothes on? Do I have to be like what's the parking situation? Is there I'm like,
oh yeah, yeah. The older I get, the more I realize like I'm not as free, care loving, like go with the flow. I'm like, nah, I need to know what time.
Yeah.
And that always gave me such anxiety, like going out in my 20s and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, we're going out tonight. Like, cool. And then I would never be the one hosting people, so I'd always have to go over to somebody's house.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, feeling awkward, like, hey, what time? And they're like, oh, I'll let you know later. Oh, pins and needles all day.
Oh, I know.
Do not put me in that waiting pattern.
I totally understand that.
Are you the ADHD type that's like, I have an appointment in the afternoon, I'm going to sit in the waiting period? Or is it like, I'm going to do everything I can before this appointment and then end up rushing out the door?
I used to be the waiting period person. I used to be like, I have an appointment at 4 and I can't do anything before that because I have an appointment before. Like no. Yeah. No. Like I would usually like get home or like wherever I was, like if I had to be at work today, like I'm leaving at a particular time. I have an appointment. Like I have to. But now because I have kids and like life just in general is a lot busier, I don't really have an option to not do anything until my appointment time. So
it's like, what can I get done?
What can I get done before I gotta go?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I used to be that person. How about you?
I kind of think I always think I have more time than I do. I always think that I can get so much more done in 5 minutes than I can. It's gotten worse too, especially like I feel like appointments is not as bad because I'm so on schedule with like I'm all on always picking up my kids, so like I know I have to get everything done before 3. So like I try to get as much done, but it's more of just like I'm usually late to your house, even though I live down the street. I'm like, oh, I can get there. And then it's like, shit, I forgot my phone inside. I got to run back inside. Oh, no, this and this and this. And I think I have more time than I do. And like cooking, it's like, okay, you need to stand there and cook. It's like, oh, well, this is not heated up yet. I can go upstairs and do laundry real quick. And then come back downstairs, the pan's like smoking. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to catch this house on fire one day. And it's like, I think that I can do all these tasks in between the big tasks. Because it's like, I have a problem standing there and doing nothing. Because it's like, oh, my brain keeps going.
Yeah.
Or like, I always tell people before I like figured out that I was ADHD, it's like, I always equated it to like, you know, the books, if you give a mouse a cookie.
Oh my gosh, I literally love that book.
Yeah.
And I read it all the time.
Well, it's like, I feel like that's my life. Like, you give me a cookie, I'm going to ask for milk, and then this, and then this, and then this. It's like a cause and effect. And then at the end of the time, it's like, oh, wait, we started because I wanted a cookie, and we're back here.
Yeah.
And that's how it is, like, cleaning in my house. Like, walk by, grab that sock, there, walk by, do that. And I literally, I don't know if you do this too, like, a lot of stuff too, like, you cut corners too quickly, or like you turn into a door. Like, I'm running into door frames all the time.
I did it earlier. I have a cut on my face right now that I just covered up with makeup because I bumped my head when I was like
so many bruises. Yeah, and I literally do stuff where I grab something, and if I don't grab it, I just walk away, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, I'll get it on the next pass. Like, I'm like,
yes.
Or like I walk and try to turn off the light, and it's like my body doesn't stop, and my arm is like, wait, I haven't clicked the button yet. And I'm like, we'll get it on the next round.
Omar literally tells me because I would constantly hit my head on stuff, like I need to wear a helmet, like just in general, because constantly just
come up with bruises. Like I slammed on my shoulder the other day. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with my shoulder? And I was like, what did I do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I ran into the wall. You know, that sort of stuff. It's like I feel like my brain is on to the next step. And a big thing too was like noticing nowadays, like finishing people's sentences for this. And I'm like, Devin, you need to stop. One, that's rude.
I do it too.
Yeah. And then I'm in my head of like, oh, I'm talking for them, but I'm really listening and interested in what they're saying, but like get there faster.
Yes.
Because I'm already there, you know? And like subtitles, I'm already like a sentence ahead.
Yes.
It'd be frustrating.
I do it too. I absolutely do it too. I constantly rebuttal into people's conversations when they're doing that, and then I end up being like telling them my side of the story, or like, oh yeah, I can relate to that because I did this, and then they're like not finished, and I'm like, oh. So like
you feel like an asshole afterwards. You're like, oh, it's all about me. And it's like, no, I'm trying to relate to whatever you say. You know?
I literally like made that as one of my goals when I was working in healthcare, because they're like, what are your goals like for this year and blah blah blah. It was like trying to wait my turn until the person is finished before I say something, and I really do try. Like it's like,
but then you're in your head, like we talked about earlier, like I'm not actually listening to what they're saying
because I want to say what I'm about to say.
I want to hold myself back, so I'm getting self-conscious about that, and then right when they say something, it just comes out, and then it's like, you know, the other person is just, I don't know how they feel, but like then you're in your head just ruminating the whole time. Because that's part of, especially in women, like a big factor too is like we're always told that, oh, it's just anxiety.
Absolutely.
Because boys always get diagnosed with the hyper movement, the slamming, the boisterous activities, but a lot of women, it's up in their head. Like they don't get diagnosed with that sort of stuff. So it's like that anxiety that builds up, that social interactions with people. And a big one I didn't know until the Mel Robbins podcast, when she didn't get diagnosed until later in her life, was like emotional management and outburst. Like when my later 20s, I thought I was bipolar because I would just be on this roller coaster of just like, I'm up here, I'm down here, and in between is this emotional chaos.
Absolutely.
Come to find out, it's just you're just overwhelmed with emotions, and then you're on the side because you have this energy and your brain's functioning, and then you use all that energy at once and you just crash.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like did you have the same stuff of like feeling crazy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I definitely thought I was bipolar too for a little while,
Yeah.
just with outbursts and rage. And fortunately, with my medical background, I have been able to kind of depict of like what is ADD related, what's
Mhm.
depression related, what I need to work on, just in
Yeah.
that space. But I know everybody doesn't have that same kind of like function as I
Mhm.
do, just because I've been doing that for so
Yeah,
long.
you've been around it.
Yeah, but like also I think we should also get into some of the medical facts, like as
Yeah.
far as why women are getting the
Hit us
stigma.
with facts.
Yeah, let's hit with facts, man. Okay, so all of our facts, everything has been cited and sourced through the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic with research papers. So please don't come at me. So unfortunately, women get the stigma that we don't have ADD as much as
Mhm.
men do, because men are the key source of medical research in general. They're
Yeah.
like, men have it more, boys have it more than women or girls do. Now, we are finding out that women actually have more ADD and ADHD than that was common back in the day, and they're
Mhm.
also sourcing it that like 17 is out of 17, 1 to 17 women have ADD or ADHD.
I feel like that number would be higher.
It would be higher, but I still feel like we're looking into needing more research, because
Yeah.
as I was looking through the medical journals and the research, they actually say we don't have as many medical studies and research for women as we do for men, and they're still working on a lot of
Yeah.
that, as well with symptoms, because
Mhm.
our symptoms are not the same as men all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some common symptoms that everybody deals with, like forgetfulness and
Yeah.
things like that. But as women, we internalize, again, like you said,
Mhm.
internalize things compared to men. So we do have a little bit of issue with keeping friendships
Mhm.
because of having ADHD. We have an issue with controlling our emotions with ADD. And again, not just because we have anxiety or depression, which unfortunately is what we're diagnosed with a lot. Like
Yeah.
you said, it would take forever for you to get a diagnosis or feeling valid
Yeah.
and feeling like it's mom brain. And
It's also just like, back in the day, we would have been ostracized from society because it's like,
absolutely.
oh, you're hormonal, you're crazy, you can't
Mhm.
control your emotions. And now I feel like a lot more women are getting diagnosed or searching out for that diagnosis
Mhm.
because it's people talking about it or trying to push that boundary of being socially acceptable. Be like, hey, I'm not just sad and crazy and emotional at my period. It's like, no, like I've been masking and pushing down all this shit for so long to
Yeah,
be pleasant for society. Of course,
absolutely.
it's going to come out as anxiety and depression because you have that anxiety and then you crash. And what do you like? It's not acceptable to not be hurt,
Exactly. Well, and it's funny because actually not that long ago, being a woman, you'd be lobotomized for having certain
Too much
symptoms
estrogen.
or estrogen,
Yeah.
or, oh, you're crazy because you speak your mind and not listening to your husband. And it's funny
Yeah.
because it's like, women were right for quite a while with what their
Yeah.
symptoms are and what's happening, and nobody would listen to us until more recently within the medical field. So
Yeah.
I find that quite interesting, and it was really interesting too. I was listening, like you gave me the podcast with Mel Robbins and the symptoms that she was running through, which I want to bring up that list because I want other women to know that this is something they could be dealing with as far as their symptoms as well.
And we'll link the podcast we're talking about.
Absolutely.
I think we have one or two. I just listened to a good podcast the other day in the show notes to reference it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, so common symptoms with ADHD, and this could be men and women, is like fidgeting, feeling the need to stand up and walk around, restless, talking excessively. I do. Info dumping. I am awful at that. Awful. Like when I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't go. Oh, but I have to tell them why I can't go.
Over explaining.
Over explaining like it is no one's business. And then my friend will be like, oh, okay. Like
Fine.
TMI.
Yeah.
But cool. And I'm like, okay, great, thanks. Okay, so the kids got strep and they got
Yeah.
and it's like you don't need to do that. I'm working on that as an adult now, and I'm like, you don't need to do that. Just say I can't go.
Yeah.
Or be like, kids are sick.
Yeah.
Quick.
No, I have the same
explanation.
exact problem. I feel like there was.
It's okay. Again, ADD brain. Your thoughts will disappear and come back at 3 a.m. Um, again, another one we've kind of talked about was like social boundaries, having issues not rebuttaling into people's
Yeah.
conversations, having issues with keeping friendships
Mhm.
with those boundaries. Um,
I think there was
and
a part where, like, on the opposite end of that, it's like instead of into conversations, you isolate yourself because you don't want to intrude on people or anything like that. You just put yourself down in a little shell because you're like,
absolutely,
my attitude is not acceptable
yes,
socially.
yes, yeah. I definitely felt like that. Like even working in like certain like offices or medical field, like
Mhm.
I didn't mesh with some of the women that
Yeah.
I worked with because again, not being as neurospicy as I am. So then I would just keep quiet because I'm like, I don't feel like that we relate on the same level
Yeah.
as far as where my brain is at and where their brain is at. And again, making those awkward like rebuttals into their conversation, I just felt like this is not really a good
Yeah.
fit, not a good mesh. Um, so one of the symptoms that I really wanted to fixate on as far as what Mel Robbins was talking about was that hyper focus.
Mhm.
Um, I know that you definitely do it with
Yeah.
certain things. I definitely do it with certain things. Like it's like I have to get this done, or you're really really good at a certain subject, and
Mhm.
you can hyper focus on that all day.
Yep.
But then if there's something else, you have completely no idea.
Yeah.
What's happening. I definitely did that with certain things growing up in like the medical field.
Mhm.
I really like the medical field, and I love everything about the body, like neurology, things like that. Like I could sit there and read articles, or could read articles about that stuff like that all day.
Right.
But if you give me something about math or chemistry or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
not
And
at all.
mine comes in like ebbs and flows. Like I started so many, like me and my best friend across the street started so many clubs back in the day. It was like woodworking club where it was like, okay, we're gonna
Yes,
build a box
I
and get
love
really into
that.
it, and the next week it's something completely different. And as I get older, especially getting into the job field, like yes, I have been in my industry for a while, but I do change my place, my where I'm at, and then work. What am I trying to say? Company.
Yes.
Change companies quite often, and I keep being especially told like, by my dad who's been in the same industry forever doing the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like I hope this one stays, and I'm like, sorry, it's not. Like,
But you're not alone on that one. I
yeah,
mean, a lot of millennials are job hopping now, but because we don't like the work environment we're
yeah,
in or something of that nature. So it's like, it's not like that anymore where you stay at a
yeah,
job for 50 plus years and then retire and get
yeah.
a pension.
Would be nice in a sense.
I know, it
but
would be
like,
nice.
like I come across people like I've been working for 20 years. I'm like, how?
Ow.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, I think my hobbies. I'm always starting like I got really focusing on starting my Etsy shop. And I got, like you said, like medical papers. Like I got into doing the research, how to grow it, doing the product, getting it all set up, and I got it all set up and launched it. And I was like, okay.
I'm done. Yeah.
And people were like, how's it going? I'm like, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
occasionally I'll get a t-shirt, like, like, and then I feel bad or like, you know, I keep using the word failure, but like, okay, I've done it, but I haven't continued with it. Like, I
Yeah.
was heavy plant girl for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, like I still have all my plants. I still have my shop. I still do these things. So like
Yeah.
I feel like once I get to a level of completion or mastery,
I'm
I
good.
lose interest
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
good.
go on to the next one
Absolutely.
and kind of trying to ignore what other people's judgments or whatever on me of like bouncing, what is she into now? Like she's starting a fucking podcast. Like how is this gonna last?
Yeah.
That sort of
Yeah.
thing. And it's like I want to because it's interesting to me.
Absolutely.
So it's like
Absolutely.
trying to break that stigma a little bit, but there is part of um, ADHD where it's like some people are super sensitive. There's a word
Mhm.
for it. Super sensitive to criticism, and
Oh yeah.
it's really up there for ADHDers because
Mhm.
your entire life you're criticized for the way you think,
Oh,
criticized for your
absolutely.
movement. So
Yeah.
it's like any sort of criticism you think is like life or death. Like I've been at work where it's like I get feedback from my job. Like that's my job to get feedback, implement it, and do
Yeah.
it again. So like I'm not thinking I'm gonna be perfect the first time, but I still get feedback and I'm like, oh my god, they hate it. I'm gonna fail. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get fired because I can't live up to this
Yeah.
expectation.
I totally feel that. Like whenever I would get my favorite was when your boss would be like, "Oh, hey, when you have a second, I need to talk." I am dead. I'm throwing up. My butt just fell off. Like I can't. And then they would be like, "Oh, I just wanted to give you some pointers on your like PowerPoint that you sent out." And I'm like, "Okay, so you fucking hate the whole thing."
Yeah.
Like, great. Now I have to start from scratch. And it's like, no, I just wanted to change like
I literally did that yesterday. I did this project for a guy. I sent it off, and my immediate first thing was to justify, like, hey, I know this page isn't that great. He's like, no, I love it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And then I'm like,
great.
I shouldn't have said anything because now he thinks it's bad. And like, he was
And
like,
now
no, I
he's
think it
gonna
looks great.
double guess.
Yeah. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. But, another, symptom that we were kind of discussing as well is a lot of people with ADHD are very high functioning, which a lot of us have learned to be high functioning because of having our symptoms so that we don't look like that we're not doing anything or what we're doing. But also on the outside, we're very high functioning, but we can also be very like workaholic look like. So like you're saying, like you started this, you've done that, you've done this, you've done that, and it looks like you're a workaholic. But on the outside, you feel like, okay, I'm done, and I'm finished this project, and I'm moving on.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you didn't finish that, you didn't finish this,
Right.
and a lot of women feel like that. A lot of women get that workaholic, hyperfixation, hyperfocus, all of these symptoms that men don't get.
Yeah.
Which, again, something we need to look into whenever they start doing more research for us, for women.
It's not like we haven't been around since the beginning of time.
I know. Just saying, we do make people.
We make the earth go round.
Yeah, just saying, make the whole circle. Yeah, that's us.
Yeah,
So,
they don't call it Mother Earth for a reason.
Literally, absolutely, I totally agree.
Yeah, and like speaking on like women's stuff and like girls, whatever, being not diagnosed as late, but then it's like you gotta factor in hormones. Like we can't forget about that. And I've been kind of on this like hormone discovery in the past couple of years of just like how much that shit affects everything.
Absolutely.
And like especially when it comes to your cycle, when your estrogen's up and your progesterone's low, like estrogen, if you have too much, you can go crazy.
Absolutely.
I use crazy as like a loose term.
Loose term, guys. No women are crazy.
Yeah.
We have sound in mind.
Because it's just like you have too much estrogen in your body, you're not equal, and then when it comes up to like my cycle, and you can talk about yours too, of like the week before mine, it's like my stuff is like my anxiety is up, obviously the depression hits too more like towards the end of my cycle, but like I could feel it ramping up, my scatterbrain is more, all over the place, especially on my period because my body is so drained from everything and just like pulling resources from other places. And so like you can't, then we're like doubling down on what we're trying to get through past the ADHD and that. And then you come out the other side after your period's done and you're like, woo, all right, we're going to head in to the next phase. And then it hits ovulation and we're on fire and we're doing something.
And we're getting stuff done.
All this happens in 4 weeks. Yeah. So it's like you're going on this crazy roller coaster along with like your ADHD roller coaster. And it's a lot to handle. So I just want to say, like, start paying attention to that with your cycle too. And I know everybody always says it, but like be gentle with yourself. But like
for sure.
She slaps you in your face all the time. You're like, the world's ending. I hate my job. I want to do this. And your period comes, you're like, damn it.
That's why I texted you this week.
I know.
I was like, I'm such a raging bitch. I can't stop screaming. And I was wrong. I'm like, oh. I just looked at my calendar. It says I'm about to have it in 2 days. No wonder. And then I start cramping. I'm like,
yeah. And I'm coming up after you too. And it's like, it catches you off guard every time because you feel so good when you're good. And then it's like, no.
You feel so good. And then dang hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should wrap this up. So what can we expect for next episode? What are we looking at here?
Next episode is we're going to take you back down nostalgic lane and talk about growing up in the 90s and 2000s.
Yes. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. And if you're going to do all the socials, but I just want to say, like, if you have any, like, nostalgic stuff, like super 90s or super 2000s that you did as a kid, let us know. We want to include it in the podcast to
Yes.
see like other people's perspective on like, you know, everybody played on those big giant green electrical boxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or everybody went down that searing hot metal slide
Oof.
at the playground in the 90s because, back then it was metal slides and not
Yeah.
plastic slides.
Metal slides and wooden
Oh,
play places.
yes.
Devil's trap.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I know. It's ridiculous what we grew up with. So.
Dude, it made us able to handle the day.
Absolutely. So just want to remind you ladies, sometimes it's not always mom brain. So if you feel like you might have ADD, ADHD, please reach out to your primary care provider, your counselor or therapist, or even if you have a psychiatrist. Reach out to them, get tested, making sure that it's not always mom brain what they're only blaming it on.
Yeah.
And also, please follow us. We would really appreciate it with our videos. Comment, like, and share. Please send us your comments of what episodes that you would like to hear, or for we can put those in the queue and kind of keep this ball rolling.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, comment, down in whatever platform you're watching on, like your story on ADHD and like, weird symptoms that you've had or things kind of a light bulb moment. It's always interesting to find out how people found out.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next Tuesday
Yeah.
for the episode release.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.